Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I am the creator of Teaching Self-Government, a parenting course that has gone all over the world. And if there's one thing I know, it's that stress is on an all-time high with our children and with adults. In this video, we're going to talk about how to teach kids to deal with stress. Stress is at an all-time high. Now, I don't know how many years the scientists and people who study emotional trauma and stuff have measured stress and anxiety, but one thing I know is from the time that I was a child to now, when my children are growing and leaving and not too far from the age of possibly having children of their own, there is a huge difference in the amount of stress that the young people have. Life used to be more carefree. In fact, it's interesting to me that life used to be more carefree, but we did harder work. There were things that were more difficult. We didn't have the modern conveniences. And now at this time where things are so easy, for some reason we have increased stress and anxiety. And there are some reasons for that. And I'd like to talk about that and then talk about ways that we can help our children deal with this stress so that they can be productive and feel like they can confidently go through life and not be held back by these little stresses that can get in the way. So what is happening? Why is it that people are experiencing more stress? There are multiple factors. There's no way that I could go into all of them here. In fact, I might not even know every single factor, because what is happening in our society seems like this big change is occurring. People are feeling more emotional than ever before. They're feeling like they need to follow their emotions and their feelings more than ever before. And so because of that, we have stress on the rise, because if they feel stress, they cater to it. People aren't being taught how to control themselves. So I'm known for my teaching about self-government or self-control, being able to analyze where you want to go and where you're at and make a plan for how to get there. So it's a really empowering type of a procedure that a person goes through their entire life as they become a better version of themselves day after day. So we are not teaching a lot of self-control and self-government. We are teaching that feelings are important, that they need to be followed, and they are important. We need to acknowledge them, but we definitely shouldn't allow them to control our actions and our outcomes in life. And that is one thing that is getting in the way and causing increased stress, because people are over-processing their stressful situations. Another reason stress is on the rise is because people are carrying their problems with them for longer periods of time. So when something bad happens to a person, instead of saying, well, that was a bad thing, but I'm not staying here, I'm going to move on and have a better day tomorrow, they keep talking about the bad day. They cater to it time and time again. And really, in some friend groups, it's becoming popular to just share all of your bad news and your frustrations with each other. In fact, in some peer groups with young people, a person is shunned if they're too positive and optimistic. If they don't have some of the common social problems, they're actually made to not fit in with the rest of the group. So this means that stress is, well, popular. So that's kind of a hard thing too, because when a person truly does experience stress, because stress is a true thing that we can feel in our lives, we need to think of it as something that we absolutely can deal with, that we can overcome, and doesn't have to be something that is debilitating for us. Another factor for stress and the increase in stress is perfectionism. When we live in this picture-perfect society where everything is just, Hollywood ready, camera ready, no hair out of place. Clearly, I'm not that girl. But when we live in that day and age where all of the lighting and the Photoshop and everything is perfect, and our parents just put this high priority on giving us this enormous amounts of praise all of the time, then we actually think we have to be perfect too. In fact, there are many children, especially children who are single children or children who come from families where there are smaller numbers of children, they put a lot of stress on themselves because their parents put all of their aspirations for any of their offspring on the one person. And that child thinks it is up to them to please both of their parents all of the time. That perfectionism is really hard on them. It increases their pressure that they put on themselves, even if the parents are not trying to do that to the child. So that's an important thing to remember, that we're just trying to be good parents sometimes, but we are dumping these aspirations on our children that they do not feel like they can accomplish necessarily. Or maybe they just think that failure is just that, a really bad thing, failure, and they might not be able to recover. So they put all of their value in these really grand praises or things that we say to the neighbors about how our child's the next genius, or, fill in the blank. Praising is great, but attaching a person's worth to a statement can add a lot of pressure to them. So now we know a few of the reasons, and there are many, many more, for why our society is catering to stress and why we're having an increased problem. So I want to share with you a quick story just so that you know what is really occurring in people's lives, and then let's talk about what we can do about it. What type of stressors have you gone through in your life? What were common stressors when you were a child? I kind of bet some of them are similar today, but then maybe there's some new ones. And maybe your comments can help another person understand what their child is going through. Also, if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe, because I come up with these videos every day they come out, and there's a lot of good content you don't want to be missing. So every week I do a support group where I answer people's questions. The people who are taking my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course have access to me, and I field their questions and they're recorded and sent back to them if they can't join me live on the call. Well, there was a question that came up a little while ago, and in this question a mother was talking about her daughter and the stress that she was facing, and my heart was just really touched at what this girl was going through. The child felt like she was burdened by school, so she wasn't originally, but when things got a little bit harder, the child started to stress. When the child experienced this stress, she wanted to quit. She didn't have the skills she needed for how to conquer the stress, so she decided she wanted to switch to being homeschooled. Well, even in the homeschool setting, she was starting to experience more and more stress. Over time, this child retreated from more portions of their life, and the mother was saying to me, how do I help this child prepare for college and to move on with their adult life when their stress level is so intense and feels so acute to them? And so what I realized was what the mother was trying to do was help the child feel better without giving the child any kind of strategies that they needed to conquer these stressful situations. So there are skills that people can use so that they don't have to give in to the stress and keep over processing or overthinking those stressful emotions. We do have to find a way to move on to more productive thoughts. This is what I suggest. Part of self-government is analyzing what your thoughts are and what they could be. So let's say that you have a child that's experiencing some stress. It would be wise for a parent to come to the child and say, it looks like you might be experiencing some stress. Is that right? And then the child would say, yes, that's right. And then the parent might say, stress can sometimes make us feel like there's nothing we can do to fix our situation. But there are always things that we can do to fix our situation. We need to remember that stress is a lie. Even though that feeling we have triggers us that maybe we have a lot on our mind, stress itself is not a truth. Stress actually is just the indicator that some problem needs to be solved. So we need to remember that it's a flag, not a truth. Many people think that if they feel stress, that the truth is they can't handle whatever the situation is. But that's not the truth. The stress is a lie. The truth is they can. They just have to break away from that feeling in order to do it. So I would explain that to my child. I would say stress is a lie. Stress makes you think you can't handle a problem or that you can't keep going, but you can. So we have to have a never give up attitude, right? So then you would say, what's the truth? The truth is that even if you don't handle this problem, the day's going to go on, you're going to have as many hours as you still have now, and everything's going to be fine. The truth is, I still love you. The truth is, it's just a grade. The truth is that there are lots of other people you can be friends with. The truth is, whatever it is, we need to bring the truth to the table. Now, they may still not want to accept that truth at first because the stress is still playing in their mind. But then they need a skill. So you've got to prepare your children with a skill before you ever have this conversation. One of the 4 basic skills that I teach in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting course, I teach the skill accepting a no answer. When you accept a no answer, you look at the person, you keep a calm face, voice, and body, you say okay, or you disagree appropriately, and then you drop the subject. So when stress comes at you, it feels like, no, I can't do something. So what you do is you look at the situation, you keep a calm face, voice, and body, and you either say, okay, I can't do that, and you drop the subject, or you say, wait a minute, I'm going to disagree appropriately with this thought in my head, and I'm going to say, okay, thought, you're feeling stressed right now, or brain, you're wanting to tell me I'm stressed right now and I can't do something, but actually I think I do have a skill to handle this, or I think there is a person that maybe can help me, and I'm going to find that person. So you have a disagree appropriately in your own head, say it out loud if you have to, and then you drop the subject. Dropping the subject means saying, I'm not having any stress anymore. Stress, you can go away now, because the stress only stays as long as you allow it to. That is actually a rule with stress. If you cater to the stress, it stays. If you tell the stress, you don't get to be part of me, you are a lie, then the stress goes away. We have that much control over our lives and over our stresses. We have to remember we choose to stress or not to stress. It is a choice, even if we have developed the habit of just jumping into stress. This conversation that we've been having about stress is all really about self-control. We need to teach our children self-control. If you've enjoyed this video, I know you're going to love my next video, which is how to develop self-control in a child. I highly recommend you watching that video. We'll see you there.